their new plans.
We'd like for our pastor, Brian White, to kind of start off and give a little bit of an introduction of us, of the congregation, and I'll talk about the facility.
Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
All right. I almost said, praise the Lord, like I was somewhere on a Sunday morning, pardon me. Y'all, it's so great to see you. Thank you so much for letting us be here tonight. I am Brian White. I'm the senior pastor of St. Peter's Anglican Church, and it's a pleasure to be here. Jacob, the senior pastor of Hope, is a good friend, and we're thankful to him and his team. We're thankful to you, Todd, for allowing us to be here tonight, and I want to thank you all for being here tonight. I know, does anyone else feel like May is just the craziest month of the year? It is nuts. If you've got kids, it's especially nuts. We've got a kindergartner at home tonight. It's his last day of school tomorrow, and so thank you for making the sacrifice to be here. Just a quick introduction to our church, and I'm going to be brief before Ricky can share more. If you haven't ever seen our current building, we are just a way down Montevallo Road. So if you go out the parking lot here and you go west on Montevallo, just under 3 miles, you're going to pass us on the left. We're a pointy kind of A-frame church. We're about just a little under a mile before you get to Mountain Brook Village. And on one hand, we really like where we are. Like, there's a lot of good reasons for being there. I mean, one of them is we've got great proximity just from a transportation standpoint near to 280. We actually have a diverse congregation with people that come from all over Birmingham. You know, Ricky's about to share after me for a few minutes, sharing more details. He lives miles down 280. We have people that come from all over. We love the location in terms of its accessibility. And it's on kind of this main thoroughfare in our community. We do have people that pass the sign and that go online and learn more about us. So it's a great location. And we've also got great relationships there with our neighbors. You know, we have with the community. We host a Boy Scout troop that meets there regularly. They had an event there last weekend. We've got 2 meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous that takes place during the week. One of them was at noon today, and that's run by someone that's not a member of our church. Almost everyone that comes to those 2 meetings during the week are not parts of our church. And then we've also got really great relationships with our immediate neighbors. I don't know what the deal is, but somehow Google Maps sends Amazon delivery people that should be taking things to our neighbor's house to our church. And so we've had a great time getting to know our neighbors as we reallocate the things that have been ordered. And just one example of this, and there's a picture of this in our Instagram feed. I pulled up to the church at 6:30 3 weeks ago in the morning, and there are a bunch of little yard signs. You ever pass someone's house when they got all the flamingos up for someone's birthday or something like that? There's these yard signs of little cartoon dinosaurs. And then there's a big sandwich board. And it says, "Happy 4th birthday, Francis. You're dynamite." Well, they got 2 things right. It was Francis's birthday, and y'all, Francis is dynamite. What they didn't get right is Francis doesn't live inside St. Peter's. Francis lives in the house that butts up to the back of us on Canterbury, right next door. And poor thing, I saw her mom pull the Suburban around the corner and got her daughter out just to see the dinosaurs that the mother's father-in-law had ordered to their surprise. But by lunchtime, the company had wisely relocated them. So we love it there. Here's the problem we've been facing for the last couple of years. We're growing, and we continue to grow. Yes, we're very thankful for that. And just for some perspective with this, y'all, we're not a big church. If you were to come on a Sunday, you'd see this time of year we have roughly 180, maybe 200 people on a Sunday. That can depend a lot on what was going on last night over in Tuscaloosa or down in Auburn, but that's about our general size. Our worship space can fit those people, can fit just a little bit more than that. Our parking lot really can't fit where we are at right now. So even with that amount of people, we have just over 90 spaces we can't fit everybody. We bought a shuttle. We bought a little red shuttle. We're one of those churches that has a little bus. And we're shuttling people from off-site to just try to be able to give, especially visitors and people with mobility issues and families, a way to get on site more easily. So the parking lot's full, the building is almost full. And so for a while now, our leadership, and we have several leaders at this table in the back here, our leadership's been looking at each other. And then ultimately, I mean, obviously we believe in God. We believe he hears our prayers, the prayers of his people. We've been praying, what do you want us to do, God? We've explored every possible option on this current site, and we're not aware of any of them. And then it was to our surprise to learn about this particular property. As you know, far better than I do, at the corner of Haygood and Dunstan, which was very intriguing. And that's why for some time, with the help of some engineers and an architect, we've been trying to figure out what just might be possible in this particular place, should that be where we ultimately go. And so that's where we find ourselves in this moment as a church family. What I want to do now is I want to bring up Ricky, who's one of our members. He's the one who's been leading us, our leadership team, in this process. And he's going to take a couple more minutes to share details about why this property is so appealing and what we might think is possible. So Ricky, here's your pointer. And I'm going to do my best. We had some technology issues here, but we've got some slides that I'm going to attempt to show.
Good evening. I want to thank you also for allowing us on real short notice to come and make a presentation and talk to you. We are very excited about this, the possibility of being your neighbor, and this process that we started looking at and investigating began 2 years ago, with us looking in a criteria much to be within 5 to 10 minutes of where we were. That's very limited, but we have looked at a number of options within a 5 to 10 mile radius, and when we discovered that this site was in existence, not for sale, but in existence, we really started pursuing it, and we were very fortunate to be able to put the site under contract. But to kind of add to what Brian was saying that he will not say is, 6 or 7 years ago when we called Brian, we were a church of about 150 to 160 people, and my wife and I would show up, and Donna Reed's in the back there, she's on the vestry, one of our members. We'd go, you know, if we keep going the direction we're going, we're going to be the young people here. And so, yeah, that was a real probability. And then we called Brian, and Brian has added new staff. He's the old guy in the organization of 6 years, and he's done a phenomenal job along with the rest of the assistant pastor, the rest of the staff. So we are growing. We're a very friendly church. We want to be together. We want to be at one service. So to some extent, this is a real step of faith, because we've been pursuing this for 2 years, and we genuinely believe this is what the Lord would have us to do. So without any further explanation on why, we want to show you what we have developed and what we would like to put in the neighborhood. And we're going to make a request. So be thinking about this as we start. We certainly, the property is zoned R3, which allows for a church. So we can build a church. One of the things that we're going to show you and point out to you is the current regulations in the church don't allow front yard parking. And there was some issue if it even applied to us, but the city thinks it does. Being on the corner lot, it requires us to do some strange things with the parking. So we're going to ask you to consider supporting a variance toward the parking, but we'll show you both what we're proposing and what it would look like if we have to go a different route. We'll show you several renderings. This is obviously an aerial or semi-aerial from the corner. Sanctuary to the first is to the front, facing Dunstan. It's I think a 505 seat sanctuary. On the left hand side, I think there's a small chapel for small weddings and other gatherings. Behind it, a new all nursery and youth on the side over here, and in between a playground that's protected, that can be secure, administrative wing on the other side, main entrance here. You can see obviously Haygood and Dunston. Brian, show us the next one. Here's just more of a street view from Dunston. This would be our main entrance as it's built. It's 29,000 square feet total building size. And by the way, we will make this available to you. This is one of the things that Todd and I talked about. What we're showing tonight, we'll make available to you. I see somebody taking shots, but we'll give it to you, okay? This is from the rear of the building. This would be from Mr. Bailey's view. This is the rear of the building in the parking lot on the north end. Here is a prayer garden that we've got planned here. And this would be a rear entrance that would walk straight into the narthex, and in front of that, of course, would be the sanctuary. Here is the site plan that we have presented to the city of Birmingham. This is the exact plan that we're asking for them to approve. There would not be any changes to this of any significant nature, if at all. There are 215 parking spaces. On the east side of the property, I think there are 3 entrances currently to the property. We would be shutting this one down that's here and go from this corner and this corner. There is that entranceway that I pointed out. Obviously the sanctuary is here, administrative wing, youth fellowship hall, chapel, and nursery up through, I guess, nursery through 5th grade space here, and a playground in between the 2 buildings that would be very sheltered. 215 parking spaces all the way around, and you can see that we are planning on sidewalks, heavily landscaped. This was and our engineering firm has an landscape architectural department, and this is what we're submitting to Birmingham. This will be our landscape plan as well. So you can see that we're heavily screened, so that we plan on being very attractive addition to the neighborhood. And then I'm gonna come back and open it up for questions. But Brian, let me show the next. This is what looks. I mean, look, we could redesign the building. You've got a lot of space right here, but taking current building and eliminating, quote, front yard parking, which pushes the building to the south building line, reduces our parking spaces by 31 spaces, which is not conducive for anything. It's not conducive for beauty. It's not conducive for the people who show up a little bit later and are parking back here and walking a country mile to the back door. So what we would like, and we'll again, we're going to open this for questions, but what we'd like to do is, Brian, if you'll go back to the other site plan.
Sorry.
This is what we would like to answer questions and like to solicit support of.
I have a question.
Okay.
Right around G, this is the approximate location of our large mature tree there. And it looks like this design does not incorporate that large existing mature tree.
Okay, where would it be, Todd?
Around G? Right around here. Is that about where the big tree is?
I think it's near
It's an oak
A.
tree.
You know, we can certainly look at that. We have not been on the property. We were trying to accomplish 2 or 3 things. Number one, we were trying to accomplish enough parking spaces to accommodate 500-seat auditorium sanctuary, and we're trying to do very extensive landscaping for the beauty of the project. We have not isolated and looked at the trees. I don't know how much modification we could do, but we could certainly look at it.
Dad, what do you think?
Well, the 25-foot setback on my property line, looks like it's gonna be some bushes and parking. Is that correct?
Well, what we had planned was a line of trees, and then there would be bushes and landscaping underneath the trees. And here are green islands that would be also landscaped with greenery.
Parking. With parking. Correct?
I'm sorry?
Parking.
Yeah,
Behind it.
this would be, these are parking spaces as designated, yes.
Within the 25-foot setback. So what does setback mean?
Setback is a building setback.
Okay. Has nothing to do with the parking.
No, sir.
About lighting,
Yeah, Tad asked me about lighting earlier. We would be, number one, addressing code, we would be addressed by code, but there are lighting that can be, I'm in the I live in the Inverness neighborhood, as he said, I'm coming down 280, and there's, office buildings close to us, and they all have this down lighting, which we would use to deflect it from being in anybody's face. So we would be very conscious of, we're in a neighborhood setting, we'd be very conscious of being there, and we would have the lighting that requires, that allows for safety, but it also pushes the light down and not out. Yes,
so,
ma'am.
your plans for traffic flow on days when you have service and you're expecting 500 people.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Your plans for traffic control when you have 500 people coming in on any given day when you're having
Yeah,
service.
we don't, right now with the traffic that we have now coming out of we have two entrances and exits, but they're one way. We don't have any issue at this point. We would certainly address that, but we have not gotten to that specificity because we don't even have it now on Montevallo Road, which is obviously much busier. The only time that we would, even on a busy Sunday, the only time we would begin to generate what I think would be any area of congestion would be 20 minutes on Sunday morning at 11:30.
Yeah, but that's 20 minutes that we live there. And as far as comparing it to what you have now you only have space for 90 cars. Now you're talking about 200 plus cars.
Yeah.
So that's a big difference. And I'm sure you're building this in assuming that you're gonna have 500 people.
You bet. Yeah, we
So I would
believe that we build it, they will come.
in place prior to the lighting.
What happens when you go?
311. 311.
We will look forward to addressing that problem, but,
Could you repeat the question? I would love to hear your questions.
What happens if you keep growing?
yeah, we certainly could keep growing. And maybe other property will become available, whatever, but we have not, this is a real stretch for us, and it's a real increase in size. One of the things that I talked to Todd about was, one of the issues that we hear about in the neighborhood is the parking and the lack of off-street parking in the commercial area. And we would we have to address this from a number of different angles, but liability and that type thing on us. But we also think that putting the parking in the front would help. We could offer some help to the neighboring businesses and allow some parking if we can address liability issues, which would alleviate some of the parking stress that you've got in your neighborhood now. So we felt like in some respects, the 215 spaces is not only to our benefit, but the benefit of the neighborhood.
You got an engineering firm with a drain plan for that?
Yes,
Like,
we started there day one, and we have Shoal Engineering addressing the building. They're handling all the civil, and the city of Birmingham is very concerned about the water retention and drainage, and we'll be spending. We already know that we have money that we have to spend for underground retention, so that we're not releasing water into a system that's already overburdened and overtaxed. So we're prepared to do whatever the city of Birmingham's engineers and our engineer require us to do in order to have the facility and not create more issues that are already there. The gentleman that spoke before us mentioned this 18-inch main that's going in. That may alleviate some of the problems, but whether it does or it doesn't, we will address our issues independently. And the city of Birmingham is going to require it, but we'll do that. Yes, sir.
Have y'all gotten the survey yet? And when are you gonna be getting one?
Yes, we have a survey.
Did they stake out anything along any of the property lines?
Not that I'm aware of. Yes, ma'am.
Where are you on the purchase and closing and all that?
We
good stuff?
are, we're under contract and we are scheduled to close at this point on June the 30th.
What happened to Silverstein?
It looks like he's selling the property.
Yeah, okay.
Good. Get rid of that dude.
Yeah.
I'd rather have the Lord around
No,
than. Yeah, for real.
Second. I was just
Yeah,
curious.
I'm down with him.
I was just curious. What kind of church is an Anglican church? What are your beliefs?
Google.
Sure.
That's what I'm
Cool,
thinking.
but not Anglican.
No, great question. I mean, is yours a similar add-on to that? Because I want to answer that.
Just what's the lineage of your church?
Yeah. So we're,
Just so people can hear. Yes, sure. So for any of y'all, anyone else grew up in the Episcopal Church? Is maybe have a connection to? Okay, so the Worldwide Anglican Communion is the body of people that identify the roots of their tradition, all going back to the Church of England, which was originally, remember, just England, and then when the British Empire spread around the world, the Church of England spread around the world. I don't know if y'all have ever visited Church of England or Anglican churches in other parts of the world, but I've been to Anglican churches in Africa. There are Anglican churches in Australia, in India. They're all over. Now, the traditional presence of the Anglican Church or expression of the Anglican Church in the United States has been the Episcopal Church, in which, again, that's what I grew up in. And about 15 years ago is when there was a number of people felt convicted to begin what they felt was a new expression or an additional expression.
It's got a short.
Sorry about
Just gotta
that.
play with it.
That's why I put it up there, because I thought if I don't touch it, then it won't mess up. They felt as if, frankly, and this was hard, but they felt as if, broadly speaking, a lot of our leadership is not continuing to lead in terms of our beliefs and convictions in ways that are alignment with what the Anglican Church has traditionally believed since its inception. I'll get to that in 1 second. And so they began a new expression, and we would identify ourselves as being part of the worldwide global Anglican Communion. Any follow up to that? I mean, I go through that in part of our membership class, so I talk about it at length, and it's kind of not fair for me to try to.
Is this like an all-inclusive type church, or a little bit more conservative than the Episcopal church?
I would certainly think of ourselves as inclusive. In other words, I think, and I would say, frankly, I know you probably aren't going to do this, but come on a Sunday, because I think you will see. I really mean this. That's not me trying to pitch anyone. You'll see a breadth of diversity, and I think you'll sense a warmth, welcoming, inviting. Everyone, as the senior pastor, I always say to people, "What was your experience like coming? Shoot me straight." And they will say, "People were so warm and so friendly." And I'm fine sharing that because I don't take credit for it. And that's just our church family. So there's a unique, one of the challenges that we're facing with our growth is there's this unique familial sweetness and intimacy about our community that we know that becomes more complex as we grow together. But I'm obviously biased, but we consider it a really special place. And especially, one more thing, and then I'll get to your question. It's also an intergenerational community. And so that's one of the things that we love about it is, on one hand, that first picture has my wife's grandfather in it. He's 91. And then right now, our nursery is almost full. We had more babies born last year than we've ever had in the church. And so we feel like there's, again, this particular and unique dynamism and charism about being just such a broad body of people. Yes, the question in the back.
How is your beliefs different from
That is a great question, and it depends on how much time. No. I was just going to say it depends on how much time we have tonight.
2 minutes.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Can you repeat the question? We didn't
I'll
hear
get,
you.
if I can get the microphone.
Working. I'll try my best.
How about now?
How about now? Okay, great. Okay, let's see, how can I summarize that in 10%, in 10 seconds? What I would say is, and you will get different answers from different people on this question. I have, let me first say, great friends that remain in the Episcopal Church. The reason that I went into ordained ministry is because a gentleman from the Cathedral Church of the Advent that had moved to Charlottesville, Virginia, where I was in college, encouraged me in ordained ministry. And I preached there before years ago. I have a great appreciation for the history of that particular church and other Episcopal churches. What I would say is, like other traditions, we have felt that the ultimate question has been how we relate to the nature of the Bible. And this question is, what is the Bible? Ultimately, is it a document that maybe has some helpful ideas or some ideas that may have been inspired in some way a long time ago by God? Or do we believe, and this is what we hold, and I recognize not all people would agree with this, but we ultimately believe that it was something that was inspired by God. And what we seek to do is put ourselves under it and seek to live under the authority of it. And that means not just in areas that many of us would probably consider more well-known or controversial, but in every area of our lives. And so, again, that's something I talk about in our membership class, and I would love to go into more detail. And I'm happy to hang around. I sincerely mean this. I'm happy to hang around with anyone that wants to talk about that afterwards. Or if any of y'all want to get coffee with me and talk about that, I would love that. I'm leaving June 3rd for a month. I have a mini sabbatical, and I lived in England for 2 years, and my family's going to go there for a month. But I really mean that. I would love to sit down and get to talk about that. I just buried my grandmother last week, and she was at her Episcopal church in Virginia she was married in it. She had been there, I think, for 80 years. She died at 100. And so I have a great appreciation for that denomination. Anyone else? I know we kind of waded into the theology questions, but and I'm happy to continue those, but also I don't want anyone to feel. Yes, you had your hand in the back.
Is it safe to say, kind of like the principle from Avondale Elementary, that if some of the members of your church probably went to other Episcopalian churches in the area?
Yes, that would be true.
Your church?
That would be true. Yeah, great question. Yes, sir.
I want to get back to the different things. What variances do you need to be able to buy this property?
Unless we redesign this building so that, Brian, if you would, show the other side.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Unless we redesign the building, which we could, we haven't, we're in hopes that, because it doesn't make sense to do it, but we could. We need a variance to park in the quote front yard. And anything that's in the front yard, as we understand it, is anything that's running contiguous with the street. And we have two front yards, obviously, because we're on a corner. So here, the building, without any changes or modifications to utilize this space more effectively, the building has been pushed, that we designed to be centered in the middle of the space, has been pushed forward just as it is, but that causes us to lose, I think it's 31 parking spaces, roughly 15% of the parking. And in this design, it would have everyone parking in the back and entering. We could get a permit to build this tomorrow. We don't want to do that. The variance that we need is for quote front yard parking. So Brian, if you'll go back to that one slide again. So this is 184 spaces, and when we go back to the other, this is 215 spaces.
And when would you anticipate your beginning construction on that?
That's a good question. We have, we're able to close on the lot. We have a capital campaign to do, but we would anticipate in the first quarter of next year. Yes, sir.
You said, or somebody mentioned Boy Scouts meeting.
They do. They meet at our church currently.
That was a Boy Scout.
Mhm.
Where are is their entrance gonna be in this picture?
Well, we haven't thought that far, Mr. Bailey, but
All
I
right,
would
They don't
assume-
currently have a separate entrance in our,
you have
where we are right now.
AA, same question, where's their entrance
Yeah.
gonna be? And also the, childcare nursery, where is that gonna be situated in this picture?
the child care nursery is here. The covered portage is here, so that you can have drive-through in the event of inclement weather, and the families and children would walk into the hall immediately, and on their left they sign in, and immediately to the left are classrooms that we can secure this entire area, along with the nursery and the classroom. The fellowship hall is here, and meeting rooms for the youth and college are here. Chapel is here. Entrances are here to the administrative wing over here, and then a back door for this parking here,
So where is the little playground or whatever?
right here. In between this wing of youth and this wing of the nursery and child education.
Do y'all have security when y'all are open?
So
We do.
on Sunday mornings, we have 2 police officers present. And then we have the nursery open when there are 2 women's Bible studies during the week. And then also when we do a monthly parents' night out, so parents can get a break, drop off their kids. And so the nursery's open, and we have police officers then too.
Do you do any or plan to do any homeless outreach programs here?
We have not gotten that
We
far.
haven't talked about that. We don't currently have one, or we haven't talked about it.
Yes, ma'am.
For the variance that's needed for this plan, how will you go about getting that variance requested?
Can you, I'm having a little bit of a hard time hearing. Say
So
that
the
again.
variance that's required,
How would we go about getting the variance under this plan?
Okay, so we've already filed for the variance. They will notify Todd. Todd will call a meeting or whatever, and you'll exercise a vote in favor or not in favor of the variance. And then the zoning board will take that into account as they're making the decision to grant it or not grant it.
So similar to what we did with Silverstein.
Yes, so what we're thinking right now is that we will have a special meeting in 2 weeks to vote on this proposal.
I don't think the variant has anything, has anything to do with whether they're gonna build it or not.
Yes.
The variance is totally a parking variance.
Yes.
Unlike Silverstein, we were voting to have the development or not.
And rezone it.
Totally different, in my mind.
Yeah, I agree.
Now,
We're asking, but in a nutshell, the variance is simply asking that we be able to park right here. Instead of pushing the building to the front and putting all the parking in the rear.
Do you have to go before the subdivision committee to combine the 2 lots together?
That's been approved. We have to tear down one of the houses or the parsonage and the building, because we can't subdivide and put the 2 together until we do that. But that's been approved to do, provided we take those steps.
And would you guys be available, say in 1 week or so, if anybody wanted to meet?
Absolutely, we're available. We want to be And we're available after this is over as well. I mean, one way or the other, variance approved or not approved, voted for or not voted for, we're available. If we continue going forward with this property, as Mr. Bailey said, and redesign the building and push it all to the front, put all the parking in the back, we'll still be available. I mean, we don't want to do that. We haven't even taken one step with the architects to do that. We don't want to do it. We think this makes a lot of sense, and as a neighbor, we can help alleviate the problems potentially of the lack of off-street parking that exists today with the commercial uses. Yes, ma'am.
I think the most marvelous part about this is gonna be where you're gonna get your stoplights. All this is gonna change direction. And like coming up Dunstan, everybody parks on the street. Some of these things, the traffic people will be needing to look at it and go, you know what, it's gonna either make sense till you park in your driveway, not on the street, or make some of these streets one way. I mean, it.
I don't think, it's gonna have as big an impact as you would think. And I don't know if a traffic light would be required.
But it would
Like
be,
they
it
said,
would
they're
help
on,
your.
they're on Mount Allen now, which is a heck of a lot busier road. And going to my dad's every Sunday, about the same time they let out. It's not that bad, really.
Yes, ma'am.
I think it would be wonderful to keep it, the space, as a house of God, and it is now, and especially, to your point, look at Silverstone today. I have this being fabulous.
Thank you.
So much better. My question is, so we had your suggestion 215 parking spots. So one of the things that we love about that, and Todd mentioned the specific tree, but right around that G area, it's when you come to that corner, it's green and it's pretty and it almost looks like a park. It's a very welcoming area. Have y'all thought, like, give and take wise, is there a possibility you could give us a little bit more green?
Well, we have gone about 20 to 25% more green than we're required. We've already done that. We felt like that was necessary. We wanted to do that for the neighborhood and for our own church. We're significantly above and beyond already on the landscaping. We have not gone out there and located yet any trees and what we could save, and we would be all about it if we can possibly do it. I mean,
The tree they're talking about is now the logo for the neighborhood that you're talking about.
okay, so we can get on that immediately and have Shoal Engineering look at it immediately and see what we can do.
Yes, please.
And then along Haywood and Dunstan, where the property line is yellow, where those trees are, is underneath those trees going to be parking spots, or is that gonna be green space?
Right here,
Yes.
there's a sidewalk there, there's the curb, and there would be some green space in here, but yes, that would be parking right there. Yes.
Ma'am.
We're using Live Design Group, which is Craig Kraus. I can never. Crosby. Craig's a member of your neighborhood.
Craig
I
could-
can't ever pronounce his
He
last
could throw a
name.
stone practically and hit this area.
We don't know that yet. We have 2 or 3 that we're considering, but we don't know that yet. We've selected the architect and the engineers, but that's it so far.
Is there anything else that you need from us in order to support this plan?
I don't think so. If you just vote that we can, that we can have front yard parking, we're good to go. Thank you.
Can I just come back to that question earlier, because it was an important question, the theology question. What I would say, and what I share in our membership series when I talk to people about this question is, look, for those of you who in the room are Christians and that you attend a church, when people come sit through our class, I say, when you go to a church, one of the things that you want to do very carefully is watch, listen, and ask questions. Because you really want to get a sense, what do these people believe? What are they about? Do I personally align with the things that this church teaches? And what I would say is to go back to the question earlier about how we are distinct or may differ from the Episcopal Church. What I would say is, over time, there was a sense among some of us that we were increasingly in tension, particularly with the leaders, and that includes, frankly, in this tradition, bishops and others, regarding questions that we just consider at the very heart of our identity as Christians, and really being as simple as, who is Jesus Christ? What was his mission? What was the purpose of his death and resurrection? I'd say if you're a Christian and if you move somewhere from here and go somewhere else and you might join a church, ask those questions. And we felt like, the Anglican Church has been asking, and by Anglican I just mean, for hundreds of years. And if you look at our prayer book, for those of you who have a PCP, Anglicans have been answering these questions and with particular specificity for hundreds of years. And the answers that some are beginning to give just aren't in alignment with what Anglicans have historically believed. And so that's why there were some that felt like they had to make the very painful and hard decision to step away. And that includes people that had family members buried in graveyards, where they were fourth generation families of certain churches. And obviously a very delicate thing. I'm hesitant to take an environment like this where we have so many questions to touch on. It's such a delicate question that deserves more time. So again, I'd love to connect with any of you that have more questions about it. Anything else before? Again, we'll be around, and we would love to talk more. We do want to make ourselves available separately.
What we're going to do is plan to schedule that meeting in 2 weeks, and if y'all want to reach out, we'll set up a meeting to go over anything specifically. I know a couple things that I want to follow up on as well, so let's just get on the Facebook page and arrange a good date for it.
But he's leaving June 3rd, and guess what? I'm going to England on June 3rd too.
Are you going to Oxford?
Well, I'm going about John Wesley, so I'm going on a
Well,
church trip.
Well, just a reminder for everyone, all the Methodists in the room, John Wesley died an Anglican. So hallelujah. Hallelujah. For the Presbyterians, Westminster Confession, mostly written by Anglicans, but that's another matter altogether.
Okay, so
Any chance you'll vote tonight?
No, not happening tonight.
you may give our information out. We'll send you a copy of what we've presented so that you can disseminate it if you'd like to.
Okay.
And then we're available. You can give out my number, my email. I'll answer the liturgical questions next time.
And I'm...
Yes,
Can
sir.
you include a copy of the variance request with materials you sent to Tom? The text of it?
I don't even have a copy of it.
I
Our
think I
engineering
have a
firm,
copy of
but he will get a copy of it. He should get a copy of it with the form. And if not, ask me and I'll get our engineering firm to get it to you.
We'll get
And
that.
y'all, thank you.
Can excuse me.
Oh, you go ahead.
Can you send Todd also a copy of the survey?
Sure. It's not been resurveyed into one lot. But it's gonna show,
Well, then you got 2 surveys then.
we've got two,
One for none,
we've
for
got
6,
two
7,
surveys and we've got a survey that shows the lots put together how they will be. But right now you've got 2 properties. It hasn't been resurveyed into one, but that can be done for sure, given the zoning is the same. But we have to take the steps of either removing the residence that's on the northern lot, or removing the parsonage and all the building, because, and I don't understand it, but the bottom line is in order to resurvey it into one, you can only have one house on it when we do the resurvey. But it can be done.
And I was just going to add, my email so my name is, again, Brian White. It's with a Y rather than an I. So if you go to email me, it's just Brian W at St. Peter's. It's St. Peter's, BHM.org. Not BHAM, as some try to reach, but BHM.org. I'd love to talk. Thank you. Thank you very much, Todd.
Thanks, Brian.